So what's up, guys? Miles back with a live stream. This is my first live stream ever. So either this is gonna be like the worst live stream ever on YouTube, or it's gonna be some kind of a decent live stream. I don't know. We're gonna see how this goes. I'm looking forward to it, man. So on today's video, I'm going to talk about: are you a part of the herd? Right? I have my little notes right here. I have my phone right here for my little notes as well. So I feel like this is a good topic to talk about. A lot of people are a part of the herd. A lot of people are a part of society. A lot of people are a part of things that they don't even realize that they're a part of, right? And how they're conforming and doing things and killing their own identity, their self-respect, and their own creativity, their own ability to free think and do stuff for themselves, right? So I got a whole list of points right here. We're going to talk about first. Society is run by social proof. That's the intro into it. Then we'll talk about Stockholm Syndrome, which is really interesting in my opinion. Then we'll talk about groupthink, and then some of the examples with that. And then we'll talk about de-individualization, and then we'll end with a conclusion and a little bit more examples. So I don't want this to stream to be like an hour. It'd probably be like maybe 20, 30 minutes. So what inspired this video, right? So I was talking to this girl, right? And we were talking, right? She was talking about some of her past situations with, her relationships and stuff. I just got curious. I'm a person that's really curious. So I like to probe and ask certain questions, right? And so I've dated a couple, or I've talked to a couple girls that I've been in abusive relationships. I'm like, and they would say they'd be in a relationship for, maybe a while, like 2, 3. The last chick I talked to, she said she was in one for 6 months, or I mean, 6 years. And I'm like, how the hell were you in an abusive relationship for 6 years? Right? Because if you like me, I don't tolerate any of that stupid shit. Right? That don't fly. Immediately getting cut. So it forced me to look for answers, right? And so that's how I ran into Stockholm Syndrome. And that's how I ran into everything else. This is a big rabbit hole I ran into unintentionally. I was just looking for one thing and found a whole bunch of other stuff. So society is run by social proof, right? Whether you know it or not, a lot of the stuff that you do is like decided because a lot of people are into that as well. Celebrities have a whole bunch of followers, so you automatically think that their credibility is, you know, good, which is not always which is not always the right way of going about things, right? They can be good in one area and not have any expertise in one area, but in the everyday population, if you have a large following, people will listen to you about everything and think that you're right because you have a whole bunch of followers, or you have a whole bunch of people around you that listen to you and pay attention to you. So in some ways, it's a little bit true because you need some credibility there. You need some people that have experience. Need some people that really follow that person, that have some reviews and have some experience. So I'm not discrediting it but it does go too far at times, right? This is what I'm talking about. A lot of people can't decipher that. Okay, they can't say like, okay, Drake is good for music and entertainment, but when it comes to money or politics or something like that, I'm gonna listen to somebody else, right? Instead, the average person's like, Drake is a pop star. I'm gonna go listen to every interview he ever says, and I'm automatically agree that he's right. And that's not the right way to do stuff. Okay, so what drives us to be socially, and what drives us to conform? I was reading a book and it really broke this down, right? I think it was it's Robert Cialdini's book, Influence. That's what it is, Influence. He talked about this, right? And it really makes sense because I've witnessed this in my own life. Situations of uncertainty. So let's say you are a college student. This is your freshman year. Maybe you're a freshman in high school. Maybe your first day on the job, right? The first thing you look at, because you're uncertain about what class to go to, what to expect, what to bring. The first thing you look at is to look at other people. Look what they're doing. Look what they're doing. Look what they're talking about. Looking how they're presenting themselves, and conforming to that, and automatically thinking that that's the right way. Now, if you're that example pretty much applies to everybody. I know I've done that. I've been extremely uncertain in situations around A&M looking for a class, and then I see a whole bunch of people walking one way just to find out that's the real class I'm supposed to be in. You know what I'm saying? So, high situations of uncertainty causes us to conform to situations, right? So that's just keep that in mind as we go through this, right? So let's get to our first point: Stockholm syndrome. Extremely interesting to me because I'm the total opposite. I was raised different from this, but I'm not judging anybody. This certain situations happen. But this is interesting. I got my little notes right here. What is Stockholm Syndrome? Stockholm Syndrome isn't a psychological diagnosis. Instead, is a way of understanding the emotional response some people have towards a captor or abuser. Sometimes people who are held prisoner or subject to abuse can have feelings of sympathy or other positive feelings toward the captor. This seems to happen over days, weeks, months, or years of captivity or close contact to the captor. That's mind boggling. A bond between the victim and the captor. This can lead to kind treatment and less harm of the abuser from the abuser, as they might also create a positive bond with their victims, right? You can see that you can see those with pimps, right? They might hit their woman and then like wash them up and give them a meal. That's how they do stuff, right? Someone who has Stockholm syndrome might have confusing feelings toward the abuser, including love, sympathy, empathy, desire to protect him. Stockholm syndrome might also cause the hostage to have negative feelings toward the police or anyone that might try to attempt to rescue them. Now, Stockholm syndrome is extremely interesting because, like, if you're like me, you're like the complete opposite. You're like, dude, if somebody hit me, if somebody captivate me, there's no feelings of bonding or love or sympathy ever going to be in that situation ever. That's never going to happen ever, right? But some people have, it's like in a messed up way. They have a love for the abuse. It's like they like being dominated, right? This is one of the first things I want to address when we're talking about, are you a part of the problem? Meaning that, are you being hurted? Are you doing something that you're unaware of, right? You may be a woman, you may be a man in here, and you have suffered this in some way, whether it be in a relationship. I've seen guys that were, been run over by the girls. I've seen girls that have been in abusive relationships with my own eyes and through stories that would literally stay with guys that abused them, which I never understood. But now we can connect the dots with this, right? And it's extremely interesting because, like, very rarely do you have an episode of a man that identifies and says, like, yeah, this is like something I've done. It's always normally a woman that's been through this. And I find that extremely interesting, right? I can't give you the actual reason why that is, but it correlates from my personal experience. I don't have any scientific evidence to back it up, but it is a really weird thing, right? So that's the first point. Next, we're going to go into groupthink, right? Groupthink is a little bit different. Groupthink and de-individualization is about the same thing, but we're going to go over it. Groups that prioritize their group identity and behave coldly towards outsiders may be more likely to fall victim to groupthink. Organizations in which dissent is discouraged or openly punished are similarly likely to engage in groupthink when making decisions. High stress is another root of cause, as is time pressure that demands a fast decision. Remember, I'm saying uncertainty. This is where this comes in, right? When you're uncertain and forced to do stuff you're not supposed to do, you conform automatically, right? I've fallen victim to this. I'm sure you've fallen victim to this. This is something that I'm bringing awareness to. Why can groupthink be dangerous? Even in minor cases, groupthink triggers decisions that aren't ideal or that ignore critical information. In highly consequential domains like politics or the military, groupthink can have much worse conditions, leading to groups to ignore ethics or morals, prioritize one specific goal while ignoring countless collateral consequences, or at worst, instigate death or destruction. So I've got a couple of examples that I want to talk about. And, you know, I feel like this would be an interesting thing. So if you look out, if you're a business person, you got to read Robert Cialdini's Influence. Like, it's extremely, extremely influential. So in his book, he talks about um, the medical, what leads in human error is, doctors and nurses and stuff, right? Not to discourage you guys that are doctors and nurses, but I'm just saying, in human error, he talked about in the book, that's medical errors are among like the most errors among like humans itself, right? I'm probably saying this wrong to where you might not understand it fully, but follow me. And so I was looking at this, I'm like, that shouldn't be the issue, right? There's no way we should have all these people in the same room that are highly educated, operating on the same person. You got to think about it, guys. You got the doctor, you got the assistant, you got the nurses. All these people been in college, for at least 2 to 10 years, maybe even longer. So why are we making so many mistakes when it comes to surgeries, when it comes to mistakes within um, injuries and surgeries, like all these medical or disorders and medications and everything? Why are we still making mistakes like that? And so it broke it down, right? Authority. The people within that room automatically conform to the doctor since he's the head person operating, and they automatically think he's right about everything, right? And he should be right about everything. But there's literally been times where the nurses and there's assistants knew something wasn't right, but they didn't stand up and say something, which resulted in that same thing. They conformed to their, you know, that decision, right? Conform to group thing, right? You automatically think that guy, that person is right. The people that are above you, the people in power, people controlling stuff, are automatically um, right. Where's the issue, right? Next is an engineering example. Now I got this example from my friend Jacob. If you're watching this on the playback, or if you come in here all of a sudden, salute. Appreciate you, Jacob, for this example. I'm gonna use your example for my live stream, man. So he was talking about, like, the safety parts of doing an engineering project, and he was saying that people that are in charge of the project sometimes have a tendency to neglect the safety because they want to get things done quickly, right? And so the people and the workers around them, they know the consequences behind that, but they don't say anything because they know they'll be overridden when it comes to their project managers or whoever, right? So they literally know, like, there's something wrong is going to happen if they do X, Y, Z before the deadline. If they don't do this, and they just focus on the quantity of doing it fast and not the quality, they know there'll be long-term effects of the project, but they don't care about that because they're trying to get the stuff done. So they conform to groupthink because they know they'll be overridden by their project managers, which is just another problem for guys like me. If you're a person like me that independently thinks that you're not easily influenced by the status quo, you're not easily influenced by pop culture, you do your own stuff, you do your own thinking, then stuff like that's going to drive you crazy, right? That's in the workplace. You're going to have supervisors, managers, you know, regional managers that are not really that good at their job, but because they were put, they knew somebody, or because they, you know, wiggled their way up to the top, and they don't really do a good job, but because they know somebody, or because somebody got them that position. Now they're in a way, they're going to tell you what to do, and it's going to trickle down and have this whole effect on the whole chain of things, right? So if this guy is messed up, you know the guys below him are going to be messed up automatically because his decision maker is going to be off. That's extremely frustrating for an independent thinker. You know, this is extremely frustrating for somebody that actually values their work, that actually gives a shit about what they're trying to do, right? But because they're decision making, or because they're bad at their job, right? It forces you to be bad at your job as well, in a way. So that's it. Like that by itself, that just like the workplace and everything by itself is just extremely frustrating because you're trying to be a good person and trying to, actually care about your work and produce quality work, but you soon find out that it's about quantity, it's not about quality. And a lot of you guys will figure that out whenever you get out in the real world and you start navigating and doing stuff, um, trying to make your way through the world. You're going to quickly find out the hierarchy system, right? And I don't necessarily have a problem with hierarchy at all. Just the people up top, just be smart. Just be smart. Actually care about your workers, care about the job that needs to be done. Just care. That's all I care about. It gets frustrating when the people up top don't care about the people at the bottom, or they're not smart and they're not making good decisions, and it forces the whole situation to suffer. That's extremely frustrating. So, are you a part of the problem? Groupthink. This is how political parties, cults, all these things, they force you in a situation of uncertainty, force you to make a quick decision, and they force your hand to conform. So, are you a part of the problem, right? When it comes to political parties and cults and stuff like that, they're all not bad. It's only bad when you follow them unquestioningly. You follow them no matter what. You think they're right no matter what. That's whenever you have a problem. You can lean one way, lean one way the other way, but if you think that one way is completely right 100% of the time, that's where groupthink is taking over your situation. So, last thing I want to talk about is the individualization. I feel like this one is a good one, and this is really eye opening to me because I noticed this with my own eyes, but I couldn't put the words to it. And so, what is the individualization? Most of the time, people have a general sense of individuality and self awareness that makes it easier to monitor their interactions with people, judge their behavior according to their values, and recognize themselves as separate entities from others. The individualization occurs when a person's identity with a group overrides their own identity and self awareness. It can lead to mob mentality because the individualization tends to prevent critical thinking and dissent. People in groups often feel less individual responsibility for their behavior, may feel that they will be able to act in with more anonymity. They may also identify strongly with the group that their individual feelings matter less. Religious group settings, sports games, political events, and large organizations such as militaries can all cause members to de-individuate. Peer pressure to go along with groupthink may also play a role in the individualization. Um, so the individualization is normally you're in a group, right? This is how they do this, right? So you're on a sports team. You're on a in a fraternity. You're in a whatever group you're into, right? Your peer pressure group. The first thing they try to do, right, is kill your selfishness. They call it selfishness, but it's really just independent thinking, right? That's the first thing they got to beat out of you. They got to stop you from asking questions. They got to stop you from um, doing things your own way, right? They got to get you to conform to what the group is doing, so the group itself can be successful. And in a lot of ways, when it comes to certain stuff, that's really a good thing. When it comes to sports, it's a team sport. Everybody has to be on the same accord for you to win. And so you can get away with it in certain arenas, right? But like I said in groupthink, it kills the morality and it kills the ethical parts of it to certain points, right? You blindly follow people because you think they have your best interest in help in hand, but really you're just a pawn in their game just to move the chips along so they can get the credit, but you do all the work. This is the concept of a coach. This is the concept of pretty much like admiral, colonel, whatever, like military strategist, like anybody else that's not on the front lines working, right? And like I said, this is not all bad in every situation. Even in the military, it's not necessarily bad all the time. Everybody should be on one accord so you guys can survive. But every once in a while, if you've seen Top Gun, Maverick went against the status quo whenever he needed to. And, for the average person in the military, they just would have conformed. They just would have did the menial average stuff. But because he cared so much and he was an independent thinker, he ended up changing that whole situation and making the mission a success, right? We need more people like Maverick in the world, and the world will be a better place, right? You see the same thing with religion. The first thing they try to kill is your individuality. You must conform to God. And if you believe in God, if you don't believe in God, I'm not saying either or is right. That's the first thing they do, right? And if you really believe that, I have nothing wrong with that. But what happens is these pastors have ulterior motives, right? So they get you to follow them instead of following God. And you got to be, watch out for that. You can easily be manipulated and walk down a path that they want you to walk righteous, but behind closed doors, they're not really righteous at all. Keep that in mind, right? So things like Stockholm Syndrome, things like groupthink, things that like the individualization, throw all that in the bucket and you throw uncertainty as a circumstance. This is how you get, your Russian leaders from World War II. This is how you get Germany, World War II. Um, School, matter of fact, is pretty similar to the prison if you think about it. You know, they have the same schedule. You eat the same meals pretty much. I haven't been inside prisons, but if you can go online and look at, we try to decipher what classroom from a prison cell or prison, whatever it is, you couldn't you couldn't really accurately do that consistently and choose the right thing on every answer on that little website, right? That's how closely related these things are. It makes you wonder, are all these institutions made for you to conform to, you know, what they want you to do, right? So, in conclusion, this is the end of my live stream. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you like the video. Um, in conclusion, if you're not an independent thinker, then chances are you're probably constantly being taken advantage of without you even knowing it, whether it be your boss, whether it be um, your fraternity leaders, your military leaders, um, your pastor. Like it's so many different ways this could go, right? And I'm not saying that all those people should be bad. All those people are automatically bad. You'll be able to easily tell, like the people that are actually good pastors, actually good military leaders, the actually good politicians, and all that stuff, because they'll actually care about that. their each person in the group, right? So I just want you guys to be, keep your eyes open and not be easily manipulated, because people will run you right over and not give a fuck. So I think that's an important thing to understand as you begin your journey in this world. So, in last sentence, I want to conclude with: if you're not smart or you're not street savvy, it's what they call it. Street savvy is just another word for saying you're an observationalist. You need to pay attention to your environment. So, if you're not doing any of that, chances are you probably won't make it very far when it comes to success or anything, because you'll just be following being average what everybody else is doing. So, and I don't have a problem. Some of you guys don't want to be CEOs and all that stuff. That's cool. But make sure you follow somebody that really cares about you and your plight, your individuality at the same time, right? They're upfront, and um they're upfront with their intentions and influence. There's a difference between manipulation and influence. Manipulation is bad, influence is good. So that's my first live stream. Hope you guys enjoyed this from the playback. I'll be doing more like these in the past. I really enjoyed this one. It didn't seem too bad. So if you're watching this on the playback, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you like the video. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Miles Chumlin. You guys have a good day. Stay woke. Focus on what you need to focus on. Be successful. Do what you got to do. And we out. Have a good day, good week, good weekend. Get after it. We'll see y'all. Love y'all.